Two. Right. Don't want to wait for the chat to react. So I'm just going to assume we're live now. How's it going, everyone? This is take two for those of you that, well, all of you that didn't actually see the first attempt at this stream starting.
Yeah, I think we're live now. Yeah, we totally just spent 5 minutes just talking to no one.
Yeah, we may have had a bit of an issue with actually starting the stream because of Twitch authentication, but hey, we're here now. So special sailing stream. We've got Mod John C here.
Hello.
I'm Mod Ronan. We're going to be going over all of the big sailing questions that have come up since we put out the dev blogs. Anything that you might want answered, we're going to go through in this stream. If we don't go through it, let us know and we can answer it elsewhere. So, to kick things off, from Petter90090, has sailing already been polled?
Sailing has not been polled. It will be polled very soon, maybe in the next week, depending on how feedback and follow-up questions and things go over the next few days. But no, it hasn't been polled yet.
And one of the other big things that came up in the first dev blogs, or the dev blog specifically about training sailing, we did put a fair amount of emphasis on shipbuilding. A lot of people have taken that as shipbuilding is going to be the primary way to train sailing, which isn't necessarily what we wanted to communicate, however it may have come across that way. That was a miscommunication on our part. How else are we going to be able to train sailing other than shipbuilding?
Mostly through sailing. That's where the bulk of your sailing experience should come from. Apologies for putting a bit too much info on the shipbuilding. It was just a lot easier to write about than the exploration part, and so that's why it might have come across like that. But yeah, you will be able to build ships for some sailing XP, but that's going to be minute into the amount you'll be able to get from actually sailing across the seas and navigating the ocean.
And another big thing that people have picked up on since the AMA on Friday, which is PvP. We mentioned that we're not going to be doing PvP with the initial release of sailing at this point.
No, one of the biggest things we picked up on from our initial dev blogs was that there wasn't that many of you talking about PvP. It wasn't really what excited you about the skill to start with. So we've decided to just put it on a back burner for now, get the actual skilling side of the skill out of the way, and we can revisit PvP post-launch, or even before launch and launch it just a little bit after. But
I think getting the main, the base aspects of the skill down, completely nail that, before moving on to the PvP side will mean that PvP will be better and the entire skill will be better. We don't want to split our focus in that respect, make sure that the skill is exactly what we want it to be. Yeah,
it's very difficult to tell you how PvP is going to work within a system that's still being designed and sort of sorted out, so that's why it's been done like that. But hopefully you guys will vote for sailing and there will be some PvP to it eventually.
Jughead PKs asked, will sailing ruin my pure or give defense XP randomly in any way?
As much as I'd love to, no. We'll make any combat XP gains very clear before you actually gain them. And while there are combat aspects to sailing, what I've got in mind, it's all optional. So even if you're a level 3, sailing is perfectly open to you. There's just a few things you won't be able to do, like kill giant pirates.
No Longting asks, if sailing fails at the poll, can we get Dungeoneering instead with new rewards?
I don't know what you can have instead, really. I don't think Dungeoneering would ever get to a point where it would pass a poll.
No, I don't reckon so.
To be honest, I think with sailing it's kind of like make or break in terms of new skills for old school, but never say never.
That kind of runs into another question that we got, which was why sailing aside from any other possible skills that are out there?
Well, when we went off-site last year to discuss, all the various different possible skills we could possibly do for old school, sailing was the only one that really ticked all the boxes, that offers everything. It gives us a blank canvas to give you guys exactly what you want. We're not copy and pasting. It can offer something for absolutely everybody, and yeah, it just fits within the game. For me, it's always the one thing that's been missing. In the other game, they got ports, which sort of added to it, but it was never the full part where you can actually go out to sea and actually explore. But yeah, it just fits.
Yeah. AYB Junga asks, I'm a mid-level player and I only play a few hours on the weekend. Will sailing be fun for me with all mid-70s combat and a small bank?
Yeah, sailing will have a plethora of content across the entire spectrum, so I want it to offer absolutely something for absolutely everybody. So whether you're playing 3 hours a week or whether you're in the top 10, there's something in sailing that's not only there for you, but it's also fun to do as well.
Sawyer21 asks, will this skill be slower to train or a relatively faster one?
XP rates are obviously to be decided, but based on a few discussions I saw on the Reddit AMA threads, I get the impression you don't want to be too fast but not too slow, so somewhere in the region of like 65, 70k an hour towards the top end. We can scale back from around that, but that question is one for the community really, how fast do you want it to be? It's as simple as that, we can change numbers all day long.
Did you say scale back or sail back?
Scale.
Okay, just checking. I Sail a Boat asks, what types of rewards can we expect to see? I don't want you to give away too much, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the more fun rewards.
What do I want to give away? I've got one design for one of the permanent land masses that you can visit once you've unlocked, like level 55 sailing, I think. Its working title is Atlantis. Hopefully that'll get renamed, and hopefully by one of you, because we're terrible at naming things. We've got some gemstone cabins in there, which offers new creatures made out of like sapphire, emerald, and rubies. You might have seen the dragons I made in 5 minutes once.
Oh, and Mod Alfea's made a concept for that.
Oh yeah, and we have some concept art for that as well. Yeah, and I'd like those to drop just fill some existing content gaps. I might have written down, I think, dragon sword and a dragon crossbow to slot between rune and armadillo as well. But all of this stuff is obviously new best in slot at certain levels, so it all have to be polled individually anyway, I think. But yeah, those kind of things. Oh yeah, new gemstone as well to go above onyx, to actually utilise the onyx as part of it as well, so you're not devaluing it at all. And then new top tier jewellery, the necklace for ranged, amulet for strength, and the bracelet for magic, so you can still use it with the occult necklace. And the ring, actually, I think, is just there to look shiny. Yeah,
you mentioned polling those things individually. One thing that a lot of people have been wondering is, if sailing fails, are we going to re-poll it?
Well, that depends on how it fares in the poll. Typically, if something comes very close, and with something so big like sailing, it's very possible. With so many of you want it, we can probably just tweak the design, ask you guys what it's missing, add that to it, and re-poll it again. But if it fails by some margin, then that's it. It's failed. But if you still want some of the content of it without it going with the skill, we can always repackage it and offer it as something else.
Yeah, and it's always worth noting that we're never going to just poll it again. Yeah. It's always going to be a tweaked design. Like if we feel like there is one thing in particular, we've got feedback on this point, and we can adjust this and make it something that over 75% of people do want to happen in Old School, then we'll adjust it and re-poll it. However, I'm not going to do that probably more than once at best, and that's only if it comes very close, and it is a very key thing that we are very aware people are taking issue with. Jason Reddit asks, you should reconsider making a quest that involves the sailing skill once the sailing skill has been released, of course.
Oh yeah, the possibilities for content are endless. I mean, sailing will come with its, well, hopefully will come with its own various story arcs that are unlocked. I have, I think, 10 slated at the minute that will all need writing. Hopefully some of them by the community. We can tie into existing storylines, and there's no reason we can't throw a quest or two in there as well. I mean, the pirate storyline is heavily related to sailing, so that'll have to be there at the very least. Yeah,
I think that one thing you mentioned when you were initially proposing this to the team is that there is essentially unlimited possibilities with sailing as a concept. So this initial release of sailing, we can build on that and add more to it, whether that's quests, new skilling content, new PVM content, stuff that works into other skills. All of that is very possible in the future once the initial idea is in the game and we've got something to build on.
Yep.
Gnarly Name 69 asks, what are you most looking forward to seeing players do / experience when sailing is finally in the game and finished?
Underwater. Being able to freely explore randomly generated underwater areas. It just sounds awesome.
It does, doesn't it?
I mean, we've already got an underwater part to a Recipe for Disaster, and that's so small.
It's a really enjoyable part of the quest as well.
Yeah, and it's so small, and we can do so much with that. Like, you can say if you're in level 70 sailing, that gives you 6 minutes underwater in this randomly generated area in like Dungeoneering-esque kind of fashion. It randomly generates points of interest down there as well, like it would if you're on top of the waters. Like there's other sunken treasure chest over there, but if you go for that, you're not going to be able to go and explore that random light in the distance, in the other direction. Yeah. And over there you might find a super duper armadillo bandamarak godsword hilt thing.
Confirmed.
But yeah, it's so exciting, all the different possibilities of things you could find, and I'm going to tie in loads of super rare hidden Easter eggs into all that kind of content.
Yeah, that sort of works into this question. Nanwrecker asks, how many dank memes will there be? Possibly references to why is the rum gone and I'm on a boat.
It's sailing. We'll have to have some references, just to the various different things. Pirates of the Caribbean's got to be top of the list. Especially
tasteful, low-key references.
Yeah. there will not be a gnome child sail if I have my way, but yeah, there'll be various little things.
No screaming at your mum to get any cameras.
No, they won't be intruding on your gameplay. They'll just be there if you want to go and look for them.
Awesome. Cratergy asks, it would be cool if you could add a social aspect to it, like forming crews for ships that actually grants more experience the more when people are inclined to do it. It would help the single player escape situation.
See, I get the impression that most of our players want to be able to play single player.
Yeah.
There is nothing stopping us doing, group benefiting content with it, but I don't think that's what the majority of you want. So for the initial design and poll and launch, I would be inclined to say, while there is group aspects to it, like you can take your friends to this island if they don't have the sailing level, for example. In terms of XP rates, I don't want the group aspects to affect them at all. It's something we can discuss with the community and add afterwards, but single player only seems, well, single player gaining XP seems to be the way forward.
When we first spoke about sailing, the first ever dev blog, the biggest response that we got by far was people saying we don't want the best experience to be locked behind group content, because as much as group content is fun and should probably be rewarded in some ways, having it be mandatory in order to compete and gain experience at the same rate as everyone else isn't something that most people are for.
Yeah, exactly.
Lemerd asks a bunch of questions actually. The first on the list is, what sort of interface are you thinking of for the actual exploration, and how will we move around?
Okay, this is obviously all just a concept, something I have in my head. Even Ronan doesn't know what I'm about to say. So let's say you're taking a voyage from Port Sarim to Musa Point, and you just select that from an interface. You select which ship you want to take from your collection of ships. I think I've got it limited to 4 at top level. Add any items you want to take with you, because ships have spaces for certain items like cannons, hull plating, so you can, whether you want to be better off in combat or be able to last longer, you settle that up, and then you just click sail, and it would just plonk you in the middle of a map square in your ship, and you will freely move around as if you were walking around as a human. So you can click on the mini-map and your boat moves over there, and it's a little island. You click more up, get off, explore the island, get back on, and just continue sailing and exploring.
It's worth noting that John did actually work on a bit of a prototype to try and get a grip on how exactly you'll move around when you are like manning your ship. And although we aren't going to show it off on stream today, because it's just a prototype and we don't want to give people the wrong impression. We don't want to say this is what sailing is going to be, because it's a very, very early thing. But it was, from what I saw, just as if you were moving around like a player, which is...
Yeah, you are effectively transmogrified into a ship, and you can freely move around. Like if you, on the Ronan's community streams where he's running around as Jad, that's what you'll be running around as, just as a boat. Obviously with a bit more detail, we've got some engine features coming in to make it so you can actually do that and not clip with everything. And yeah, that's how we want it to work. And that's how it will hopefully work.
Yeah. Lemerd asks again, will we have to deal with weather? Perhaps some of the NPCs, like the Seer in the Friendly Isles, can help us out in return for favours/GP.
Yeah, I'd like there to be at least a couple of weather-related events that you can visit. I don't want to make it mandatory that you have to, just go through all these NPCs to pick up a navigation chart or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, those kind of little self-contained events, like you just come across a tsunami, what are you going to do? Sure, I'd love to do things like that.
You've mentioned quests will be available through sailing, but how about missions? Say perhaps the Catherby fishing store needs to charter a boat to take cargo of fresh fish to a distant island. There we go.
Yeah, those kinds of fixed point missions that you can do for a quick, couple of thousand gold from an NPC if you do them a favour and a bit of sailing experience. I'd love to have those things plugged in. I mean, you've seen the design doc. There's a few things like that listed, like you smuggling some rum off of Karamja for some naughty pirates who lost their ship. Yeah, those kind of missions will definitely be a part of the sailing.
And again, last question from Lemerd. I've mentioned cache sinks in another comment, but will there also be options to ensure our ship/cargo? I imagine getting sucked into a maelstrom could be costly.
I wasn't planning on it. I'm sure in medieval times you couldn't just take all of your life savings out on a ship, and if you were to get blown away, that someone would insure you for it. So I'd like to keep that up. But it's certainly an option. It's a small feature that can come or go in 5 minutes.
Modashlover69 asks, could sailing go to level 120?
It could. It won't.
That's a good answer.
Any skill can go to 126, but I don't see that passing a poll anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not. I'm poor. Can I train sailing?
Yes, I would like sailing to offer training methods for everyone. So whether you like to be able to sit there and grind the same thing over and over again for 6 weeks straight to get your 99s, sailing has that aspect for you. If you've got a bill to sink into the skill, you can get 99 a whole lot faster than some of your friends, but not too much faster, obviously. Yeah. Whether you haven't got that much money, you can still train it by putting in a bit more effort and a bit more focus. And then there's the balance of the two, which is where most people will fall into, which is, you know, put in some money, but you get a lot of it back through, you know, rewards and putting the time in where, you know, you sacrifice a little bit of XP gain to visit those few extra little islands that are going to reward you with various different things. That's
one of the big I tweeted out recently asking people what is it that they love about scaling, and one of the big things that came back was people saying, I love the parts where if I put in more effort, I get more experience out of it. Yeah. Or if like, the more I put in, the more I'm rewarded. But I can do it in a relaxing manner and do it as I want to sacrifice that a bit, make it a little bit easier. So I think if that's what we're going for, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah. Another thing that did come through quite a lot is, are people going to be able to make money from sailing?
Yes, it's got to be rewarding. Mostly through unlocking content rather than like directly. But yes, there'll definitely be ways for you to make money. And they're not going to be mandatory, so again, it only falls under it if you want to go and do it.
One of the things we spoke about briefly was being able to charter people and take their ships to islands that would otherwise be unlocked behind a sailing level.
Yeah, I imagine the first person to get, say, 84 sailing to travel to Paradise, for lack of a name, where there are, you know, just shiny stacks of gold waiting to be collected. I'm sure he can charge a fortune to ferry people over there, because while it is sailing locked content, it doesn't have to be, and if you can make profit out of it, then why
not? John asks, will there be any sort of boss related sailing content?
Definitely. There'll be fights at sea where you're going to have to fire all your cannons at a Kraken looking thing. It may not be the actual Kraken because that's already got a home in the Stronghold Slayer Cave, but yeah, there'll be loads of combat, and I have a repeatable boss in mind that you can only visit once a week. That's all TBD, but
yeah, dailies will be an interesting setup.
Yeah, I don't want to put too many dailies in, but something like a weekly boss fight where you get a fixed reward and a chance at something super rare as well, so you're guaranteed to profit no matter what, and there's just one little chance of something else.
Yeah. One thing that kind of comes off the back of that is someone did also ask, I didn't get it written down though, unfortunately, is sailing going to be another update that works into Slayer Escape? Or is it going to be something that has more to it than just access to more PVM content?
I want to seamlessly integrate it into the wider game. I want everything to have something related to sailing. Yeah. I mean, for example, actually I'm not offering any Slayer content with it, to be honest, just for that question specifically, yeah. But new island with some new trees, chop them down, get some new logs, and yeah, there's some woodcutting, firemaking and fletching content all rolled into one. The gemstone cabins that I mentioned, there is combat related stuff there. We could make those Slayer tasks actually, now that I think about it. I wanted to do some hunter related stuff with those as well, so little like precious implings, a new high level impling that flies around, you can catch it and what have you, and then some new like sapphire and ruby little creatures, you know, to be decided that you can hunt, like new top-level hunter content. You know, I want to fill some of the existing gaps in our content library that have just been sat there wide open for a while. Yeah. I want to give you augury and rigor through sailing as well. I haven't decided how yet.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But again, all those kind of things, if they're going to be new best in slot, new XP per hours for non-sailing related skills, sorry, for a skill that isn't sailing, all that stuff will be polled individually because it affects the wider game.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was initially a concern, but maybe we sort of calmed the concerns within the second dev blog, was people thinking that this is going to be essentially similar to Dungeoneering in the way that it is just sort of a sectioned off part of the game. No. But from like what you've just said, it's clearly going to be part of Old School rather than chunked off at the side, mini game style.
Yeah, when I set out to design sailing, my top bullet point was take the wins from Dungeoneering and don't shove it down a peninsula. Because Dungeoneering was fun, it was really awesome, a load of people agree with me, but the fact that it was shoved away, out the way, and that the rewards were kind of just in a shop, yeah, weren't the best parts of it. I mean, they worked, but the whole sort of randomly generated, you know, let's go and do something awesome, it's always going to be different, yeah, kind of thing was one of my core aims.
Lord Emote asks, will the sailing skill be like ports from RuneScape 3?
No, there might be some similarities in terms of how you build your ship, just because, you know, there's only so many ways you can build a ship. But you will actually go out into the ocean and explore on your boat. You won't just send them off on voyages and come back 9 hours later.
Yeah. Liffa asks, let's say it passes the poll. When do you think we're going to see sailing being released into the game?
January.
January?
We're going for January. That was our aim, so we can you know, give you something great to start off the year with and just take it on from there.
And this is one of the last questions here. Tony asks, is it possible to train with a level 3 skiller?
Yes, it will be level 3 skiller friendly as much as possible. Like I said, there will be some combat related content, but it will all be optional.
I think that is sort of to be expected with level 3 skillers there. Like if you're a level 3 skiller, there's going to be some things that you can't do, but it doesn't necessarily restrict you from having fun with the content. Let's see what else we got here. I think we have one last question. Josh Elliott asks, sailing was meant to be for April Fools. Why has it turned into a real thing?
I think we covered that in one of the first questions, didn't we? It's like, we could do a new skill. Sailing is the best fit. Let's see how well it goes down. If it passes, it happens, great. You know, if it doesn't, we move on. Absolutely.
So now we can turn to the chat.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, chuck them in the chat. We'll try and answer them. If nothing much comes through, we can call it a day there. If you have any further questions, of course, send them through on Reddit, Twitter, the forums, whatever. We will answer them. If we don't, spam us to death.
Right.
Let's see. D-Claws. Let's cover that one quickly.
I have no plans to offer you Dragon Claws anytime soon. You can go and buy them from Django's store, actually.
This is true.
Just looking for sailing-related questions, by the way. I'm seeing some other stuff come in. This is
Yeah, sailing.
Yeah. And that chat's moving far too quickly.
It is. Oh my goodness. I cannot catch anything. New farming
Free-to-play friendly, I saw a question for. Sailing itself will be a free-to-play skill. Most of it will be locked behind members, but there will be something there for free players to enjoy as well.
One question that just came through was, will you be able to get to Zaya through sailing?
It's a possibility. Wasn't planning on tying it to it because Zaya came along a whole lot. The words just stopped coming out. Zaya came along a long time before sailing did, and so I wasn't planning on linking the two. But yeah, it's always an option, especially as it's a giant continent. Why shouldn't you be able to sail around it?
We've already sort of answered this in the stream. Someone asking, will there be OP stuff introduced with it?
OP is a matter of opinion, but no, anything that's new, XP per hour, that's better than anything existing at a certain level, anything that's new best in slot will all be polled. I want to give you some of that stuff, but it will all be polled separately. Is there an Iron Man friendly way of training sailing? Yes, I have that down my secondary aims to make sure it's Iron Man friendly, and there'll be Dead Man considerations as well. Even PvP world.
Really? Well, that'd be interesting.
But that was part of the PvP, so that might have to wait. Will mining be involved? Not directly, but for adding cannons to your ships, for example, you will need to smith them, or well, at least to smith the iron, bronze cannons all the way up to runite. There are some better ones that you have to find through other content. And to smith them, you're going to need to mine some stuff, but that's not a direct relation.
One thing I did just see come through that has come up a few times on Twitter and Reddit as well is, how do we imagine it's going to impact the economy? And one thing that's come through in particular is people concerned about log prices, plank prices, stuff like that.
Yeah, this came up on Reddit a few times as well. I'm yet to decide what the best way to go about having these ships built is. I'm not going to be using oak planks, teak planks and mahogany planks, because construction will end up costing you 3 times what it does today, and that's obviously not good. If we go the plank route, there'll be new planks added, or we can just have it built from logs, because there are enough logs in the market that it wouldn't fluctuate too much. But I've still got to do some fine-tuned numbers to actually properly get an answer on that. But we'll do our best not to impact the economy, but whatever it comes from, it's going to have an effect. We'll just keep it as minimal as possible.
There was another thing that had come up quite a few times, I did catch it here in the chat as well, is people asking, can we just build the ships with construction and then have that be separate from training sailing?
You can. I mean, you do get some construction XP from it, but you're not the one that's actually building the ship effectively. You're taking your suppliers to a shipyard, they build it for you, and then you commission it by cracking some champagne on it, and you get like a little XP drop, like checking the health of a farming tree. But yeah, if we tie it fully into construction, that means we're locking some of it behind construction for a start.
Yeah.
and there's new construction, XP rates and things you have to consider, so it sort of overcomplicates it, so maybe it's like an additional feature to discuss later down the line, but for now I'd rather not explore that.
Question from someone there, how are we going to be able to customize our ship? Like, to what extent is it going to be customizable?
It depends on your ship, which depends on your sailing level. It's basically, they've got, like, think of a POH room, which has got a number of hotspots in it. You'll have a ship with 6 hotspots that you can put things in, and they various things that boost various other things as you're going along. For example, figureheads made out of gems. They increase your chances of finding rare events as you're sailing along, and it scales up, which you craft as well, so there's some crafting content for you. Cannons increase your damage in combat with your ship, and again scales up with the amount you've got. And there's hull plating as well, and those are the 3 main components I've got right now. So if you were planning on going out and doing a whole lot of combat, you might just want to take 6 cannons, or you might want to just maximise your chance of finding those really rare islands with the super cool stuff on and take 6 onyx figureheads.
Yeah. There was someone in the chat there asking about fire making and sailing, and there were a couple of people suggesting that a higher fire making level means that your success rate with like firing a cannon would be different. How about that?
I'd have had that down to range level, and cannons providing range XP. I did have a use for fire making in the PvP concepts, where you could, like, jump across to your opponent's vessel once you've crippled it and just burn down their masts and sails. So it's possible, and if they had a really good sail, for example, or a good mast that isn't really a thing anymore, I scrapped that idea. Yeah. You'd have to have like 99 fire making to burn it down.
Anything else coming through? We'll be able to sail to Tutorial Island.
Yeah, I've got a Tutorial Island mission already written. It's one of the first things I did, actually. Can you fish off the boat? Came in from JMan102. Haven't got that part properly designed yet, but I definitely want some kind of fishing related stuff that while you're on your boat, because we have to have that. You can't be sailing around the ocean and not be able to fish. It's just not a thing. Custom sails, it's an option, but as that would be purely cosmetic, it's not something we're really working on right now. It's not a priority.
How much experience can we expect in other skills from 200mm sailing?
It's all to be balanced. I don't want to make anything a direct byproduct of sailing. So, for example, if you're getting 99 sailing, you're not going to come out with 92 construction just from sailing. So there'll be small amounts. I think at most, if you were to take barbarian fishing as an example, if you do 50 to 99 fishing there, you're going to get 1 to 75 agility and 1 to 75 strength, like 30 to 75 agility and 30 to 75 strength. That's a pretty decent byproduct. I don't expect it to go much past that, unless you're doing the optional stuff like stopping at all the islands and mining all the rocks and cutting all the trees, which is when you're training those skills anyway, so that's fair. Yeah,
that makes sense. Bank on boat.
If you don't mind losing your bank if you die.
That'd be cool.
Your entire bank just gets wiped.
Dead man style.
I'd have been loving to use that proc for so long. Will there be storage on the ships? Yes. It wasn't going to be in the form of a bank, but yeah, like a chest where you can store all the kinds of cool things you found, because one inventory won't be enough to carry everything you find in a journey. But the risk you take is if you keep sailing for too long and your hull integrity reaches 0, you're going to lose it.
Could we go to war with our boat?
War with your boat? In other words, you fighting your boat, or going to a war on your boat? Because there are 2 very different...
Their wording.
Okay.
Go with whatever you think.
I do want ship v ship combat, so some of the events you can find, you pull up next to a pirate ship and they're trying to rob you, so you kick their asses into next week with all your cannons and what have you.
Sailing tasks in the achievement diary?
We can't add any tasks to the existing achievement diaries without taking all the rewards away from you, but we could certainly do a new achievement diary based on all the content that comes with it. I mean, I'm not planning on adding too many new land masses because we've got a continent in the pipeline, but I've got at least 2, one of which is about 2.5 map squares with some underground stuff, and the other one about the size of a map square. So it might not be really worth doing a diary, but we'll have to see what comes.
Con number 1 asking, will we show the sailing prototype?
Not at this stage, for the reasons Ronan mentioned earlier. It's not working all that well, and I don't want to sort of morph your visualization of what sailing could be by showing you something crap.
Well, I think when we show off a prototype, we want it to be representative of what at least vaguely of what the end product will be. And at this stage, we can't really do that.
I mean, bear in mind, this has only had me working on it, and I'm not really a developer for about 6 hours. I mean, once we've got something properly polished, when we know exactly what we want to do with it, and we know exactly what you want us to do with it, then we can show something off. Can we see a dragon 3H? I'm sure we had that question on the live streams like a year ago.
Yeah, and someone did a design for how you would have 3 hands or something.
It's not a thing. Chat's moving too fast.
Oh, that's going very quickly.
Would we need high other skills to train sailing effectively? Now, that's a very good question. And the answer is no. They will help you, but they're not required. All the ships get built without any requirements if you need them, because they're built by NPCs. The components to make the upgrades, things like a runite cannon, they can be smithed, but I want them all to be tradable. Same with the figureheads as well, so you don't need to have the smithing and the crafting levels. And that's it. You just need a sailing level to go and explore. New cannonballs, yes, they're already there. I've already mapped them down on various different things, like a rune cannon can fire up to rune cannonballs, and I've even got a serpentine cannon that fires little snakelings.
Oh, bloody hell, that sounds good.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Gareth try and animate it.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Tier 70 magic robes, yeah. Honestly, what we do with the rewards is entirely up to you guys. We've got so many content gaps that we can fill in so many different ways that I could just give you a complete bullet pointed list and you can pick your top 3 and we can just go with those and poll them. Just remember that they will all be polled separately.
Death on a boat. I did see a few people asking about this actually. If you die at sea or if you your ship somehow sinks, what will happen to your items and your ship?
That's to be decided yet, mostly because I need to work out what's technically possible with the likes of Ash and Ian. But I would like to have it so that if you die at sea, you've died.
Yeah, no respawn.
No, you respawn and you keep your 3 items, but you've lost your ship, so it's going to be expensive to replace. Yeah. You've lost all the things you've picked up on that journey and anything you hadn't already taken off of it out of its storeroom, and all the items you had equipped as well. So, but like I said, I need to speak to those guys to work out what's technically possible, and then we'll run that one past you, see how you guys feel about it, but it all depends on the final mechanics of sailing itself as well. Trophy display? Sure. Why not?
Can you make people walk the plank?
Sure, I think we can do that.
I think that'd be good.
Will you be able to give names to your ships? I'd like to give you that. The USS, I can't think of a name right now.
That sounds badass.
Can we sail to Africa? No, Africa's not part of the Gillinor, sadly.
I know that, I think England is mentioned in dialogue somewhere. Maybe it was Britain.
Fourth one.
Can you keep prisoners?
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe. I like that.
There's a lot of questions going through here, most of which I think we've already gone over.
I'm seeing a load of suggestions for content as well, which is great. One of the key things I want to do with sailing is to make it the community skill. It's Old School Runescape, it's a community-run game. You guys can come up with so many great ideas. And with a completely randomly generated system like sailing across the ocean, the amount of content we can add to it is endless. Yeah. So we can get, just have you guys submitting ideas to us for little random events coming in, for weeks upon weeks, and we'll just implement them.
I think one of the best things that you've said so far from the start of the whole sailing proposal is that no 2 journeys will be the same on the ocean. Like, I think that is one thing that we would like to drill into people's heads, is that you're not going to experience the same thing over and over again necessarily. It will be an experience every time you go out there. Yeah,
I mean, we can say no 2 journeys will be the same, but we can't actually guarantee that. It'll just be an infinitesimal possibility.
Way to kill the vibe there, John.
I've got to cover my bases. Just in case someone does somehow manage to get the 1 in 65 billion chance of actually getting the same journey twice. Dragon Warhammer and Clue Scrolls again, like I said with the rewards, the possibilities are endless. It's entirely up to you guys what rewards come with sailing. I'm not going to read that.
Can you splash on your ship?
How about no? Cerberus drop rates? Not today. Mining under the water? The underwater content I haven't really fleshed out yet. It's more just ideas. You could, in theory, mine underwater, I guess. I mean, what we put down there is, again, it's up to you guys. So you can come up with the ideas and we can just dev them and throw them in. It's going to be completely random generated. Like for the picture I tweeted on Friday, you saw the whirlpool that I copy and pasted from the Barbarian fishing area. I can't remember the backstory in Falls. That's the way I see the underwater stuff working. Like, you don't specifically go out to look for it. It's just randomly generated along with the other random events. It might be a bit more common. And you just decide to go down there for X amount of time, and it just gets, again, completely randomly generated. There's just points of interest, various different things you can do, and I'm sure we can think of something more exciting while you're underwater for the first time ever than mining a rock. Underwater fire making? Ooh, maybe not.
Oh, looting shipwrecks. Sounds like a pretty cool.
Yeah, that kind of thing, like sunken treasures, and that's how you're going to find some of the top end stuff for sailing as well, like a dragon cannon. You have to find it in like 1 in 1,000 chance from a sunken shipwreck. But
yeah.
Let's make it tradable, because why not?
Any questions jumping out at you there?
No, it's mostly just suggestions now, and it's moving very, very quickly. Oh, actually, yeah, there's a question about POH and ports. It's possible, but whether it's a route we explore, I'm not sure. But to add a POH room related to sailing is definitely something I'd love to do. But whether you'd actually be able to sail from it is going to be a tricky one, because it's a technical one for Ashley, and I don't know whether it's actually possible or not, like from a development side.
Yeah.
But it's something I'd like to explore at the very least. Is Ronan wearing Crocs? Yes.
Okay, no need for that.
Sailing cape emote, we're obviously not going to spend the dev time on creating something like that until it's past the poll.
Someone was asking for a sailing cape concept as well. I think, did we mention that we're potentially going to start it off the original banner on the RuneScape website that kind of sparked the sailing conspiracy? So if you can find that image, just Google sailing cape RuneScape or something like that.
I think it was top of the last dev blog actually, or the one before.
I think it's been top of every sailing dev blog.
But yeah, it's up there, and we want to base it on those colours if you guys would like us to. Farming on your boat? That's possible. You might die. Seagulls could eat it. What would the sailing skill icon look like? In my test stream at the minute, it's using the anchor one from Reddit, although Ash did have to remove a pixel to actually get it plugged in, because it was 1 pixel too big. I would imagine we're going to go with either that or the sailing boat, similar to the April Fool's one, that might look a bit less cartoony than it did last year. Might just poll that one actually, because
I think that's worth polling.
I like the anchor, but I also really like the boat.
I like the anchor a lot, and so did a bunch of people on Reddit, and then we tweeted out that screenshot, and there's a lot of people saying, we don't want that. So I think it's probably worth polling.
Shrink the anchor a little? Yeah, we can. I mean, what it looks like, it's such a tiny little thing to be discussing. That
Yeah.
We can probably give you a toggle, to be honest. Have one or the other.
Anything jumping out, or do you reckon this is a good point to call it a day?
I think we should leave it there. If you do come up with any other questions, feel free to tweet us at Jagex John C, Jagex Ronan, or at Old School RS, because I'll be happy to answer them. And
of course, forums, Reddit, any way you can guarantee we'll see it. Old School Community at jagex.com. If you have a question, send it our way, and we'll make sure to get it answered.
Yep, keep an eye out for a video with some sort of just summarising sort of the facts about sailing so far this week from the Old School YouTube channel. And there'll be a dev blog on Tuesday.
Tuesday is what we're looking at, yeah.
Which will again summarise everything that we've covered over the last few days and on the stream, on the AMA, and various other things I've added.
And it is important that if you do have questions that you want answered in that dev blog or in that video, let us know before they go out, and we'll try and get as many questions answered as possible, because we want to make sure that everyone has 100% of the information. It's a bit of an impossible task, it's what we're going for. So if you have questions, let us know.
Awesome.
And that is about it. So now I'm going to make a very unprofessional exit and go turn off the stream. Thank you guys for watching.
See you later, Ronan.
Goodbye.
Yeah, we're the only two here, so we've had to sort of do this a bit less professionally than usual. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.